When people talk about traditional building today, they often reduce it to quaint nostalgia, old cottages, rustic beams, or charming stonework. But across history, traditional home building wasn't aesthetic. It was engineering. It was survival. And it was done by cultures that understood climate, soil, wind, water, and materials better than many modern builders with power tools. From Viking longhouses and Japanese timber frames to African earthen compounds and European stone cottages, every method was refined through centuries of trial, error, storms, droughts, and generational knowledge. What's remarkable is that many of these ancient techniques outperform modern construction in durability, moisture control, passive heating, and resilience. And what's even more valuable is that the principles behind them can be applied today with simple tools and locally available materials. By the end of this guide, you'll not only appreciate the intelligence in traditional homes, but also know how to adapt parts of that knowledge to small backyard structures, off-grid cabins, workshops, and long-lasting outdoor installations. Traditional building begins with, understanding the land before choosing the structure. For most of human history, builders didn't impose structures onto the land. They adapted structures to the land's strengths and weaknesses. High ground was preferred for drainage. South-facing slopes offered warmth in colder climates. Natural windbreaks, soil composition, and water tables dictated where walls would sit and how foundations were formed. This wasn't superstition. It was environmental engineering long before the term existed. A practical way to apply this today is to, spend time observing your site before building anything. Track where rain collects, where frost lingers, how wind moves across the area, and which spots dry fastest after a storm. If you're constructing a shed or a small off-grid cabin, position it so that the morning sun warms the structure and prevailing winds are broken by natural features. Traditional builders didn't waste effort fighting the land, and, adopting that mindset dramatically extends the life of any structure. Strong homes, historically, started with foundations that distributed weight naturally. While modern construction relies heavily on concrete slabs, traditional builders use stone footings, compacted gravel beds, and timber posts set on or above ground, depending on the climate. The principle behind all of these techniques was stability without trapping moisture. In Southeast Asia, houses were lifted on posts to avoid damp ground. In Northern Europe, stone pads supported beams, so timber never touched soil directly. These methods prevented rot, allowed airflow, and provided structural longevity. To apply this today, elevate your building slightly rather than sealing it to the earth. Set corner posts on stones or concrete piers and let air circulate beneath the floor. Even for small backyard structures, this simple step can prevent long-term decay and make maintenance easier. Traditional walls relied on breathable, mass-based materials instead of sealed cavities. Whether it was rammed earth, wattle and daub, timber framing with infill, cob, adobe or stacked stone, the core principle remained the same. Walls needed to regulate temperature and moisture, not trap it. Thick earthen walls, absorbed heat during the day and then released it at night. Light woven walls, when coated with clay, dried quickly and allowed for a gentle exchange of air. Timber frames, well, they flexed with seasonal movement, adapting to the changes in the environment. Modern walls, packed tightly with synthetic insulation, can actually trap moisture, leading to mold and rot. Issues that ancient builders rarely encountered, mostly because their walls were intentionally designed to breathe. If you want to apply this knowledge today, it's a good idea to consider using clay slip earthen plaster or even lime wash on your interior walls instead of those modern vapor-tight finishes. These coatings, quite naturally, regulate humidity and help extend the life of any wood or earthen materials underneath. Traditional roofing. It was all about shedding water and managing heat, not so much about achieving perfect airtightness, really. Throughout history, roofs varied widely. Thatch, sod, wood shingles, clay tiles, you name it. Yet they all shared a common goal: to swiftly move water away and allow the roof system to dry. Quite fascinating, isn't it? Take thatch, for instance. It's often misunderstood as primitive, but when built correctly at the right pitch, it sheds water exceptionally well and insulates impressively. Sod roofs, on the other hand, held heat due to their mass. And wood shingles. They lasted decades when ventilated properly beneath. Clay tiles, too, cooled hot climates through their clever airflow channels. Quite remarkable, really, how these traditional methods worked. The historical lesson for modern builders is clear as day. A roof must breathe. When you're installing a shed roof or a cabin roof today, remember to leave ventilation channels beneath the surface. Use ridge vents or narrow gaps to allow warm, moist air to escape. It's essential, you see, for the longevity and effectiveness of the roof. Traditional homes maintained indoor comfort using passive design instead of mechanical systems. Windows were placed strategically for cross-ventilation. Eaves were sized to block summer sun while allowing winter sunlight in. Fire pits and hearths were positioned where heat radiated most effectively. Thick walls created thermal buffering. Courtyards cooled air naturally. Traditional building succeeds because it respects material behavior instead of forcing materials into rigid forms. Wood swells, shrinks and shifts. Earth cracks when it dries too fast. Stone expands with heat and contracts with cold. Traditional builders worked with these behaviours rather than resisting them, which is why their structures lasted centuries. Timber frames used joinery that flexed without failing. Earthen walls were mixed with straw for tensile strength. Stone houses relied on breathable mortar. When building today, choose materials that are compatible and allow for natural movement. Avoid sealing everything under synthetic membranes. Combine mass, breathability and flexibility, just as our ancestors did. Traditional home building techniques weren't primitive. They were ingenious, efficient and sustainable. They offer solutions modern construction often overlooks, especially for off-grid living, long-term resilience, and low-technology environments. If this guide expanded your understanding, subscribe to Thermal Vault and share this video with anyone who values learning from the past to build better today.